All right, today is super special. We've got Ian Brightman, somebody who not only inspires me from his content, but also his dedication. And one thing I really like is a series that he's working on and that we spoke about in this episode where he spotlights photographers. This episode's really great, and for me, even I learned something. So definitely check this one out. Ian Brightman, here we go. Let's just get right into it. When did you start photography? If you can kind of like pinpoint a moment or anything. I know it's pretty hard.
No, it's not. High school, junior year, 2005, first semester. No, I'm sorry, sophomore year, 2004, first week of school.
So did you do photography in school then?
Yeah, I was very lucky in terms of both the dot that I was born in as well as like the school district that I was raised in. So I was raised in Burbank, California, which for anyone who is not aware of like LA and what area is what, Hollywood is not the center of filmmaking. That's the center of just like movie, lifestyle. Burbank is the center of filmmaking and shows and studios. It's probably like at least 80% of like the globally dominant studios in filmmaking and networks are located in Burbank. And that's just on the other side of the hill of where the Hollywood sign is. So it's literally just on the other side. But I was very fortunate to be raised there because it was its own school district. It wasn't a part of LA Unified, which is a much larger one. My high school that I went to, Burroughs in Burbank, was just everything about it was just high scale, essentially. I don't think there was a single department that was exactly like wanting for more money. Like we had pretty much everything we could have wanted out of a high school, and photography was one of those. My beginning photography course had for the year, because in high school the courses were for the year. We had enough enlargers for every person in our class, enough mounting like materials, and as well as like the professors or the teachers who knew what they were doing to like really teach us like the full fundamentals of both studio and lifestyle photography, and then the whole developing process.
Yeah, that's amazing. I'm just beyond jealous from somebody who grew up in like a quote unquote small town, small city in Canada. We definitely didn't have photography in high school or anything like that. I didn't even have trades in my high school, unfortunately. But yeah, man, that's awesome to hear. I can only imagine how, I mean, just like for lack of better words, inspiring that is, like for you as like a teenager to go through and be surrounded by creative people and mentors. And so yeah, tell me about that side of it. Tell me about your experience with working with other people.
Well, I mean, in high school, we're all kind of learning ourselves anyway, and some of us are a little more hidden than others. So there were, layers to unpacking, like, my creative self back then. But it was definitely a good outlet because at the same time, I was doing a lot of contact sports as well. So football, fighting in the ring, hockey, I was a very physical person. And then to be able to turn around and for, an hour a day, be able to like just convey the world in how my mind kind of sees it, was a release that all of that legally hitting of people did not necessarily give me. But yeah, it was. I can't say that time necessarily inspired me, but it was captivating, and it was captivating enough so that I went back for advanced photography in my junior year, which is same department, different teacher, different. You're just like any advanced course. You're going more in depth. You're going more critical, more analytical, but also at the same time more ground to experiment. And that, the advanced levels where I definitely kind of felt the calling. This was also at the same time that DSLRs as a technology were actually coming like into power. So at the time,
And
Nikon,
accessible as well, I guess.
yes, yeah, Nikon ran DSLRs at that time. In the first like 3 years, it was not even a battle. Nikon ran everything about DSLRs. And so not only then did my advanced photography course, we had access to all of the film stuff, the 4x5s, the 120s, the 35s, like we had everything in there for film stuff. But then we also had something like 3 to 5, I think they were like D80s or D60s, like back in the day. And they were maybe like mid tier of DSLRs. And so we learned digital photography on those, as well as, the full suite of, and I'm going to date myself as if, saying the date didn't already do it. We learned Photoshop on CS2
Yeah, there you
when that
go.
was brand new.
Yeah, you didn't have to add that in, but yeah, that's.
Yeah. Yeah, we did not have old bootleg versions. We got
I
these.
remember.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I can remember vividly shooting on my dad's Super 8, Super 16, I guess 16 mil, growing up, and then my mom having, I think it was like a Canon T3i or something like that,
Oh
and
yeah.
it was like a huge purchase and like no one mess with it type of thing. I remember those first DSLR like moments when it kind of like came into like an everyday household, and
Yeah.
it's, yeah, I mean, it's crazy to think about how much it's progressed in like a matter of 10, 20 years. But
Hmm.
so yeah, tell me more about like your jump from, or I guess your transition from film to DSLR.
Well, so outside of the studio, like in school, my parents worked hard, but we didn't really have like enough for anything we could have wanted, like everything we needed, and the extracurriculars here and there. But as it is now, so it was back then, film photography is not cheap. And so the film, the processing, the mounting, the paper, the enlarging, like all of that adds up very, very quickly. And so we could not really afford for me to do, film photography outside of like school stuff. I could kind of experiment, but I had to be very choosy about how I shot stuff outside of
That's
a school experiment.
that's what I was gonna say. It doesn't leave much room for experimentation for sure.
No, no. So as if film by itself was already a, pretty stringent medium because there's no backtracking. It is what it is.
Which I love.
But
Which I
no,
love.
it's great. Yeah, because it chooses you to be a hell of a lot more critical of your moments of do I press the shutter or not?
And I think
But
that has helped probably both of us in like experience with film. You know what
you
I mean
you
by that? Yeah,
say
or where
you
I'm
say
going.
that, but at the same time, if I showed you the numbers from FA Atlanta this past
Yeah.
weekend, yeah, no, you would not expect that I ever learned on film. So no, I didn't really have like a film camera outside of the school stuff, but I saved up enough money so that my senior year I got in partial help with my parents. And then I kind of filled in the rest. My first camera was kind of similar to yours. It was the Rebel XTI. So very similar. I think the T3i was like a model or two later, or more recent.
Yeah,
Um,
I think that sounds familiar. I believe I bought the Rebel as my first camera.
oh
I
yeah,
think
like
that sounds
it's
familiar.
it
Yeah.
was it was a perfect like starter digital. This is mine. No one else is gonna touch this. It came with like one lens, and because of the market at that time, there was really only one other lens like a regular person could buy. Everything else was meant for, the pros.
Hmm.
I think it was like a 55 to 150, like variable
It
4.5 to
definitely
six
was.
three. It
I
was like
remember it.
something
Yeah.
terrible like that. But got the job done. It gave you everything you needed to kind of just experiment. You got grain once you hit 200 ISO, and it just felt like film. But yeah, it was a lot of fun to be able to learn in such a high capacity environment so that by the time that I was able to have my own camera, I didn't feel the need to experiment with film anymore because I knew it. But that's not to say that like I knew all the tricks and
I
this and that
100% know
and
what you mean.
everything
Yeah.
else. But like, yeah, you already
Have
had
experience
the
with it. Yeah,
yeah, you had the experience, you had the backing, you had the knowledge, and so you didn't need to go backtrack in order to learn more.
definitely. So I asked this because I played a lot of contact sports as well growing up.
Hmm.
How did I mean the more not to go on too deep of a level, but how did playing all of those sports affect you now as a sports photographer?
I mean, apart from the concussions.
It wasn't good. That's what I didn't mean to go too deep about it. Lack of
No, I'm just
vocabulary because
messing.
of them.
No. I'm just messing. I thankfully, I think I only got concussed a couple times throughout all those years of doing those contact sports. I was very lucky in a lot of regards. But it does, in some sense, allow me to kind of view things differently. Um, but as I'm sure you're well aware, just because you can view it differently in your head doesn't mean you have the access to put it into a frame. So there's plenty of things that I have in my head of how I could shoot certain things simply because I know the physical act of the sport itself. And I know I'm being kind of cryptic there, but like it's
No, I know what you mean. I definitely know what you're saying.
yeah. So like the shots that Larry Chen gets, not necessarily his like photography outside the stands, but the shots from his camera car. No one else can get those shots.
I know
Those
what
are
you mean. The
shots
mounting of
on
the
yeah,
on a
exactly.
bridge type
So
of thing
it's
or a fence. Yeah.
exactly. So there's shots that I have in my head for various sports, but specifically motorsport that I know I could get, and I know what settings I'd have to put it. I even know what lens I would use. Having never been there, I just know what it can look like, but I don't necessarily have the access in a lot of the environments that I am in to be able to do certain things like that. So I it to answer the question, it's kind of daunting almost because I have all these shots in my head that I know I could get, and I physically am not allowed to.
Yeah. I mean, I think everyone has experience with that, and I'm sure Larry Chen does as well. Along the journey, along the way.
Mm.
When I had an opportunity to shoot Formula One, I had a Legends pass and didn't have track access because they'd only really give track access to photographers. But yeah, I mean,
Hmm.
it's the exact same type of thing. Like you're going there with a million ideas in your mind, and then it comes down to access 90% of the time, I would say. Um, but finding like opportunities along the way to not use that as like a hurdle and using that as kind of like, okay, can I go about it a different way to kind of stand out? Can I then from doing that eventually get access? One thing that kind of comes to mind for me is like when I went to that balcony in Long Beach, it's the same type of thing, right? It's like we have this idea in our mind is like, okay, I'd love to get a helicopter shot here, but I don't see myself being able to get into the helicopter or the IMSA helicopter. You know what I mean?
So just because you brought it up, about a month before Long Beach, I was looking into helicopter rentals for FD time period. I was actually looking into it.
And when you do in the future, you let me know because yeah, we're gonna do it. That'd be sick. But it's the same concept, right? Like there's so many ideas that I would love to shoot as well, but yeah, I guess just trying to use that not as a hurdle is kind of like the point I want to take away from that.
Yeah, because when you hear someone say, "Oh, I could get those shots too if I had that access," it does sound a little bit like a crutch, um, because you're just
Well, I yes and no because I know you and I know your quality and I know your capability and things like that. There is a fine like I know what you're saying, but there is definitely at the end of the day an access issue sometimes. You know what I mean? Like you can't.
yeah. Yeah, but for a lot of us, we're then gonna take that no and go, okay, well, where are you not gonna tell me no then? And you go find somewhere else. It's not about being told yes, you can, but it's about finding that gray area of not being told no.
And making it work yourself, 100%. But
Yes,
I think that's just
yes.
like the go-getter attitude for sure. Speak a bit about your tutorials and things you've been doing recently. The ones I've seen at least recently, on like YouTube and Instagram and stuff like that, and I guess just your love for photography. You've already kind of spoken about how you got into it, but one individual video comes to mind, about, I think you were just talking about how you love photography.
Are you referencing the reel on Instagram of me being poetic and then I just start cursing at the viewer?
It might have been that one. Yeah, it was.
Yeah. So that was a cut out of a larger video on my YouTube channel. And I realize that those are good ways to kind of, grab the attention is when the full video is kind of pieced together. You make your marks about what would be good little, 15 to 60-second clips and you re-edit those for short form vertical.
Little highlight clips. Yep,
Yeah,
100%.
yeah, it grabs people and sends them over. And so that was more or less the last like 30 seconds of a longer video, essentially my first one after not doing anything on my YouTube for about a year, maybe like 10 months to 12. It just got to the point where like I know gear, we all know gear, arguably like too well. And it just became like nowadays gear is just gear. All of it can do so much so similarly that it really comes down to the eye and the understanding of how to manipulate the settings to create the thing that's in your head that ultimately someone else might not see. And so it's less about the gear itself and more about the journey of getting to the photo.
Yeah, I literally love that so much.
Yeah, and so that's what I've started to do with my YouTube. I've kind of I deleted a lot of the older videos. There's some still up there because they just provided value, and I wanted to keep those up for people if they just needed something there. But I now have done three episodes. I'm doing it weekly videos on my YouTube, which is already hard because of everything else that I do already. But essentially, every episode is a photographer spotlight. So I am talking about an individual photographer having to do with motorsport, and really just breaking down some of the things either about them or about some of their shots that inspire me or that have inspired me or that I base some of my shooting off of, or certain things like that, and I just break down their photos because it's not, at least to my search, this entity that I'm going down, that doesn't really exist, this spotlight in this realm. A lot of us know a lot of these people, a lot of the photographers, and I don't even have to name the names, and we all are thinking of probably the same top five. And no one's really like breaking down the things that inspire them or why
And
they
why
inspire.
it's so, yeah, 100. I love that. Yeah, that's really cool. That's really cool.
Yeah, no, I'm enjoying it so far. The first episode, I think you know who it is, John Putman.
Yep. Yep.
Yeah. So for anyone who doesn't know who that is, he's a one-armed motorsport photographer. Not he only has one arm, but only one working arm. Like, so he has to pull focus, he has to zoom, and he has to trigger, and he has to stabilize his camera all with one hand. Like he does photojournalism, for media outlet. Like that's his full time job. He just prefers all of the motorsport assignments. Like he was at FD Long Beach with us. He was at IMSA with a lot of you guys because I had to leave right before then. And like the shots that he can get with one hand just are astonishing. Like imagine if he
It's
had two.
super impressive for sure. Super impressive.
Yeah,
And on top of it, he's just a really, really nice dude. So it goes a long way.
he is. He is. Don't get on his bad side.
I think that goes for a lot of us.
He's got honestly, he has more patience than I would ever have imagined.
Well, I think that makes sense. Yeah, that's really cool though. I hope anyone listening goes and checks out those episodes, and by the time this comes out, they're gonna start coming out in June and July, once a month. There's by the sounds of it, there'll be even more episodes. But yeah, definitely check those out because that's I love that idea for sure.
Yeah, by that time I'll have hopefully about 10 out because I'm finishing up episode 4 right now, and this is the middle of May.
Awesome. There you go. So I guess like talking about making sure to enjoy like the current moment. I think that's something like we haven't spoken about necessarily, but I feel like I've seen in you over like the year or year and a bit, like, however long we've known each other,
Mhm.
is making the most of like every moment and kind of like just taking a step back, like when you're at these events and being like, all right, that's I'm pretty like pretty cool, pretty proud, whatever you want to put in the whatever you want to say. But yeah, just maybe speak a little bit about that, and I guess like your journey to where you're at right now, and like what was your first event that you ever shot motorsport wise?
My first one was actually only in 2023. It was round 2 of Hot Pit Auto Fest at Orange Show Speedway, and it was their second year. So Hot Pit Auto Fest, I don't know if you know, but definitely like plenty of the viewers may not. So it's the only drifting competition in North America that is that Formula Drift as an entity allows for both pro and pro spec to also compete against pro am. It's the only competition. And they allow it because one of the owners is Jeff Jones, and he's a Formula Drift pro driver. So he understands kind of like how to really build this thing as safe as possible while also trying to put the best amount of competition as possible. So those types of drivers competing against each other is not able to be viewed anywhere else, at least in North America, in a competition setting. And I did not know any of this, like going into it. I was just kind of invited. And I show up. I know what to expect in terms of what gear to bring, what gear not to bring, earplugs, for example, or a mask for not letting dust get breathed in, giant brimmed hat so that my head wouldn't get sun. Like I knew none of this. I got invited. I didn't get told what to expect. And the first shots were atrocious. They were I think I kept like 4 of them, not because the edits were good, just because of the shots were good. So I just kind of wanted to keep them for myself as like okay, this was the best I did my first ever motorsport event. I'm going to consistently compare my shooting ability, not necessarily the edit, because the edit was also trash. But
Yeah,
but
yeah.
the ability, the shots themselves, I'm going to compare to the best ones that I did in the first one ever, which at this point was only 2.5 years ago.
I like that though. That's a cool idea.
Yeah, well, because the edits were horrendous, and that's not
It's
even
not
like
about the edits. I think anyone who's
no, it is.
experienced the journey understands
because
that.
No, because for the 19 years of other photography that I did before motorsport, the longest one that I did, like the longest niche, was landscape.
Okay, so you know what a good photo looks like.
Yes, but on top of that, to edit landscape so that it looks real, but also like a dream, just kind of soft, but still tangible, takes a specific type of edit and layering, especially in Photoshop,
Hmm.
that I brought to that first round of motorsport because I had already seen enough motorsport content that I was like, I'm not going to be the one to drag my clarity and detail slider 50 points to the right and say it's
Yeah.
done. That's not who I am. Like, it's so many photographers do that. And it's like,
Still do. Still
sorry,
do.
guys, we can tell that that's what you're doing. I'm sorry.
Yeah, just bump saturation.
We see it. We know what you're doing. That's not to say that the shots are bad. It's just, the edits they leave people wanting. but my edits were a little overdone in terms of like trying to, for lack of better terms, dreamify them like they were a landscape. And so there was a lot of to and fro of my first of the rest of the 2023 calendar for Hot Pit, and then all of like the other grassroots events because I was immediately hooked. So I think I went to like 12 different events around me in the first year. And just every single time I got back to my computer and dumped the footage and applied edits and re-edits and deleted presets and made new ones and just on and on and on. Yeah, the back and forth got less and less, and I've got to refine kind of my edit of motorsports. And I don't think it's necessarily my shots are better than other people. I hold myself to my edits because most people think motorsport just needs to be super detailed and super sharp, and it's like that's maybe at the grassroots level. But if you look at the higher echelon of
Yep.
of
100%.
photographers in motorsport, how few of them have that characteristic to their photos.
That look.
Not just
Yeah.
not just for clients, but like for everything you see them put online. Like so few of
And
them.
even their personal stuff. Exactly.
Yeah, it's soft. Not dreamy, but it's not crisp, you know? They're good.
And soft is the right word
shots.
for sure. Yeah.
Yeah, they're just clean shots. They're not like clinically razor sharp. That's what makes it feel off.
I think like making your own style is really important. I think that's kind of what you're describing, and it's something that I've been focusing on as well. And yeah, it's really interesting. There's a really good quote. I don't want to butcher it too much, but the essence of the quote is, yeah, like instead of trying to mimic everyone else's style and focusing on maybe someone else's individual look or something like that, focusing on creating your style and actually who you are is a lot more important. And obviously just a lot more enjoyable for like the actual artist creating it. So yeah, it's really cool to just hear you talk about it and hear you talk about like your love for photography in general, because it really comes out in like your work. And every time we talk, I mean, it's apparent to me that you're in the right place, in the right career. You know what I mean? We got to wrap it up, but yeah, I really appreciate your time, Ian, and throw some social media tags there. And what's your YouTube as well?
Everything is Ian the Brightman because my last name actually is Brightman.
There you go. Awesome. Yeah, that's super easy. And yeah, definitely go check out Ian's stuff. For me, I think it's really, as somebody whose like timelines are just filled with motorsport stuff, it's exactly like what we were talking about. It's just really nice to see like an artist actually creating like their vision and stuff like that versus just the same old clarity bump, saturation bump, same angle, same type of thing. So keep doing you.
Yeah.
And yeah, thanks a lot. Thanks again, man. Always a pleasure chatting to you.
Of course. Thanks for having me, Dan.